What is up, guys? In this video today, I'm going to be going over how to cut to 10 to 11% body fats without losing any muscle and then even gaining some if you do everything like I'll structure in this video. So it's going to be pretty in-depth, pretty step-by-step for you guys. And if you don't know my backstory here, I want to dive into this super quick to give you guys some context on my previous experience with the gym and in fitness. This was me at 21 years old. So this was me January 1st, 2025. And today is March 5th, 2026, a little bit over 1 year ago, 4 years into the gym. So I've been lifting for a little bit over 5 years now. And as you can see, I honestly looked terrible. I had some muscle here, but I just did not know how to properly structure cutting or bulking. And for the specifics of this video, I'll go into the cutting part, but I just did not know how to do this properly. And I was just so frustrated with doing a ton of efforts but just not seeing the progress and the results that I wanted to because I was just so consistent. I've never struggled with consistency. It's always been just an executing the system that gets you the results that you need to. And then this is me, as you can see now, I look pretty good if I say so myself. I'm pretty happy with the results and the progress that I've made over the last 9 to 10 months of me really dialing in my systems and the inputs that I put in to get the output that I want to. That's when I've seen the most progress and pretty much what I'm going to share with you guys today. So let's dive into this. This is pretty much what everyone gets wrong before we dive into this step by step, going over some common mistakes that even I used to make as well. So only focusing on the calories. This is something that I used to do a ton. It's very surface level. You will lose weight this way, but you can also very easily just tap into muscle if you're not doing everything right? Because the energy balance, it is going to be the number one driver of a deficit, and you do need to be in a deficit to cut. I'm not going to say otherwise. I'm not going to be one of those guys that says that energy balance isn't real, because it is, but it's very surface level. There's a lot of different things that you can manipulate in terms of the energy balance. You want to have that as a fundamental, but that's where most people stop. Most people just do that deficit right there and then just don't think of anything else. But there's a lot more depth into this. Also, doing too much effort pretty much always backfires. So as you can see, I put these two pictures up here. This is me July versus October of 2024. So this was specifically in this time I got into a lot of running, and I was doing a ton of volume in the gym, doing really high volume, kind of high intensity, taking everything to failure with a ton of volume, cutting calories, and then increasing my expenditure and my cardio as well, which looking back, I can see why I lost so much muscle here. As you can see, I got pretty skinny and I lost a ton of progress in the gym. I probably lost 6 months of, muscle progress in the gym at this point in 3 months. So it's the whole point of doing a cut is to do this properly. If you're going to cut, you might as well do it right. You might as well learn the actual system that you should follow, the frameworks and the rules, a little bit deeper than just a surface level calories in, calories out, which again does matter, but there's just more to this. So the truth on cutting without losing muscle, again, calorie balance is going to be king. You do want to have this deficit right here, but we can control where this deficit truly comes from, focusing more on the precision of making sure you're tapping into the stored body fat and then making sure that the balance of muscle protein synthesis and muscle protein breakdown is in your favor to keep all the muscle and then even gain some as well, which I'll get into in the video. So how to actually cut, like I just said, the overarching rule, let me put this here. The overarching rule is to maximize muscle protein synthesis. So this part of the equation right here, it's kind of like a scale, like a balance here, and then minimize the muscle protein breakdown. If you can do this while still being in a deficit, that's why I say there's a lot deeper than just a deficit here, then you can pretty much get the best results from this. You can still make progress in your strength and be in a deficit, because if you're maximizing this, minimizing this part, it's just pretty much how it works at a biological level. So all progress truly stems from this. Even if you're in a surplus, it doesn't matter if you're in a deficit or not. This whole equation right here is what allows you to either maintain, if they're equal, you're going to maintain. If this is higher than muscle protein breakdown, then you're going to grow muscle. That's pretty much what you want to understand. So how to actually apply this when we're doing our cuts. So number one is insulin manipulation. If you don't know what insulin is, This is probably one of the biggest breakthroughs that I figured out to make the best progress that I can like recently over the past like 9 to 10 months is timing your insulin spikes correctly around your training. So pre and post workout, you want to have those insulin spikes because what insulin does, it's going to shuttle nutrients directly to muscles and also fat as well. But like in that pre and post workout window, you're most sensitive to insulin coming in. Your insulin sensitivity is the highest. So you can actually absorb all those nutrients, all those calories coming in directly to muscle. And we're basically creating a local surplus. Like when you're spiking insulin, you're shuttling nutrients to muscles, right? Like so you're eating carbs, spike insulin, shuttling nutrients to the muscles, especially in that post-workout window as well. This is going to be a little bit more important than pre, but they're both important. But then you're also in that overall deficit. So like the energy balance is there, like you're in the deficit, but that local surplus of when you're actually spiking insulin, it's basically like a tool to grow muscle at certain times, like turn on the anabolic window, like spike mTOR, amplify mTOR when you actually have the muscle breakdown, and then that pre-workout insulin spike is going to work on this part of the equation because insulin is also anti-catabolic. So it's going to be preventing muscle protein breakdown during your lift. And then after your lift as well, you want to have some like insulin in the body again. And there's so many like functions to insulin, but the best time to do it is in that pre and post workout window. Also taking advantage of GLUT4, so glucose transporter 4, when it translocates to the cell membrane post workout, that's when we want to have the majority of the carbs. And then again, taking advantage of that insulin sensitivity in that post workout window. So again, this is just the most potent window to have insulin and make it work in your favor while still being in that deficit. And then outside of this, have low insulin periods. So pretty much spiking insulin here. This is represents the workout, and then pretty much when we're spiking insulin. And then outside of this, keeping it very low, very stable, so that we're maximizing the sensitivity. Because if we're just spiking insulin all day, very constantly, then the sensitivity is going to lower, and then we can't get the most out of those carbs, all those nutrients in that workout window. It's going to be the most potent way to actually eat your food and train from this as well. So that one's very, very important. Next up is nutrition. So obviously we want to hit adequate micronutrients. So get the vitamins, get the minerals in, find those nutrient-rich foods that you can eat that work pretty much with like your training style and like pretty much what you need to do. Just hit micronutrients and not just focusing on the macros. For macronutrients, you want to really focus on the timing. So there's like, for example, I put this right here. So red represents protein. This blue is going to be carbs. And then the green is going to be fats. So you want to pair these together like this. And then don't really mix the carbs and the fats unless it's going to be a slow digesting carb because we don't want to spike insulin and then bring in fats as well. So just knowing how to do this properly has really changed the game for me a lot. And then the macronutrient types. So there's different types of carbs you can eat around your training, like low GI, high GI, like fast digesting. They spike insulin in different ways, and then it also sustains the insulin release as well. Like insulin is a huge part of cutting and like actually building muscle while doing this, maintaining muscle, because there's just so many, like it's anti-catabolic. It's going to send all nutrients to muscles. So you really want to master the insulin and the timing that you have these carbs and these fats and the proteins as well. So spreading out protein for the timing as well. And then going back to the types of macros, I'm kind of all over the place here, but there's so much info to lay out here. So timing of or macronutrient types, again, like I said, the carbs, so slow digesting, you can use them, and then fast digesting. I would do those around the training window. And then fat types, there's saturated, monounsaturated, and then the polyunsaturated. Want to get all three and have a good balance of those because they're good for your hormones, but again, not doing them when insulin is high because it's going to mess up with the nutrient partitioning. Basically going back to the insulin sensitivity, it's going to mess that up, and you just don't want to put fats when there should be carbs because it's going to slow down digestion and like how you can absorb all those nutrients as well. And then the last thing here is just consistency with your planned intake, like of calories. Like again, the energy balance obviously matters, so being consistent with that intake that you have is always going to be important for you as well. And then next up, calorie expenditure is always going to be more important than lowering your intake. So the balance is always king, but we want to maximize the total energy that we're introducing into our body, right? So in this little thing I drew out here, so there's two examples here. There's one that you're expending 2,000 calories, and this is just example, like it's very individual for everyone. Like there's no like set in stone number for everyone to do this, obviously. So you kind of have to find your own with this and really plan accordingly. But for example, you're expending 2,000 calories here, and then you're eating 1,500. So it's the same deficit of eating 2,500 and expending 3,000. Like you're in that 500 calorie deficit. But this one right here has more total energy coming in, which is going to be a lot more muscle sparing and just give you more total energy for the system to use as a whole. More nutrients, more energy from the calories, more recovery ability from training. It's going to be the best way to do this versus just crashing calories and then not really doing expenditure at all. Like I used to do a lot of running, so I'd do a lot of expenditure here, but I wouldn't be timing my insulin correctly. I wouldn't be fueling for the workouts as I should be. But then I was also crashing calories here, so I could maybe be like in this deficit right here, which is way too aggressive. Like another thing, you want to have a controlled calorie deficit. You don't want to be like in a really aggressive deficit, obviously, because it's going to blunt the mTOR and recovery ability that you have. So basically just maximizing total energy in the body, keeping calories as high as we can, and then we're maximizing the expenditure as well just to have all those nutrients coming in. So what I really recommend is doing zone 2 cardio. There's so many benefits to this. If you've seen my channel, you've seen pretty much what I talk about on this channel about zone 2 cardio. Like you could do steps and you can do zone 2 cardio, but I would definitely include some zone 2. Like fat oxidation, you're making more mitochondria, feeling more energized throughout the day. And it's also muscle sparing as well because you want to have more energy for your lifting and you actually recover better from increased like oxygen in the blood. There's so many benefits to this. It's kind of a lot to go into in this video, like specifically for this topic. But just know like zone 2 cardio is the best that you can do to hit this expenditure. And it's a lot more time efficient as well. What I really like about zone 2 cardio is that, it's pretty easy to do, but it's also a lot more efficient than just walking. Like walking takes a long time versus doing your zone 2. You're going to burn way more calories in shorter amount of time. And then just going back to this again, all deficits are not the same. The results you get from this deficit right here and this deficit right here is going to be night and day difference because you just have more energy coming in to the system as a whole, and you will just be sparing more muscle and growing more muscle if you have the insulin controlled as well. So then training volume and intensity. So in a deficit, you're going to have less recovery by nature. Like you just have less energy compared to your expenditure. Like if you're doing this part right here, you should still be recovering better than this. But again, you're still in a deficit. So you have to kind of manipulate your training and volume and intensity as well, like according to this. So you want to maximize your stimulus and minimize the fatigue. So I drew this out right here. Basically the stimulus in your training, it maxes out pretty quick. You can get into the junk volume side of things like pretty quickly. So that's why I only recommend like 2 sets to failure and like really push it to failure. You don't want to do reps in reserve because you're not actually stimulating the most growth from the least amount of volume that you want to do. But then the fatigue can accumulate very, very fast. Like there's no really limit to the fatigue that you can do. So like the more sets you do, the stimulus will cap out, but then the fatigue is always going to increase, and then you're just not going to be able to recover from that because, again, your recovery is less in a deficit just by nature. So you want to find that sweet spot in your training, and it can depend on like training experience, you could say. It depends on how well you can manage this. So just finding that sweet spot in your training. So I always recommend higher intensity and lower volume, especially in a deficit. Like even when you're in a surplus, like in a gaining phase, I would definitely recommend doing this. But especially in a deficit, you're just going to have less recovery. So you want to maximize intensity and maximize the effectiveness pretty much, and then minimize the actual volume, which will, as a byproduct, minimize the effort that you're putting in. So like for me, my example, like my workouts are probably 45 minutes like in the gym max, which is all I need. I can stimulate growth as much as I need to and minimize that fatigue. And you just get actually better results, more effective training doing it this way. So that's pretty much all I have today. Again, if you do want to have one-on-one help using my system, like if you find value from my videos, then you can book a call if you'd like, if you're interested in my coaching. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Actually start applying this. Like it's very implementable things that you can do. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this. I'll see you guys in the next one.